Welcome to the Wealthy Woman's Podcast, a podcast for high-achieving women who are great at making money but struggle to build wealth. You'll learn how to take control of your money, increase your net worth, and make more. Ladies, it's time to create a life with more money and more freedom. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you all are having a wonderful week and that you are enjoying summer. It is so beautiful outside. While I'm recording this, I'm looking out and literally there are birds flying around and the trees are waving because there's a little bit of a breeze. And so it's just a beautiful sunny day where I am, and I hope that's the same for you too. So I am excited to announce that I am hosting my most popular masterclass again. It's called the Stop Overspending Masterclass, and I'm hosting that live coming up very soon. It's going to happen on August 8th, which is a Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are interested in attending that class with me live, go to jermainefoley.com/SOS, which stands for Stop Overspending. So that's Jermaine Foley, remember Jermaine with a G, .com/SOS. And you can also go to the show notes to just register using the link. But this class is my most popular class. People get so much value from it. It is life-changing. And what we're going to discuss is these three concepts right here. Number one, we're going to talk about why you overspend and why it's so hard to stop. It turns out that there's nothing wrong with you. There's another reason why you're overspending, and it has nothing to do with your willpower, your discipline, or your self-control. We're also going to take a sneak peek into what your life can be like without overspending. I promise you, your life can be so much better, so much more peaceful, so much less stressful. It is such a beautiful place to be when you are in control of your spending. Your life is just a little less filled with drama and worry and anxiety around money when you're no longer overspending. We're also going to look at how you can stop overspending without slashing your lifestyle to shreds, right? You're not going to have to give up all the things you love. You're not going to have to stop traveling or doing all of those things. And the truth is, believing that you're going to have to give all of those things up is probably preventing you from building wealth in the first place. So let's get rid of that notion that you have to live this boring life in order to build wealth. No, you don't. And I'm going to show you exactly why and how that's possible during this live class. You'll be able to ask me questions. There will be a Q&A. You can chat with me live. This is a great opportunity to come and get any questions that you have answered. I would love to spend about an hour with you off the podcast and actually live on Zoom. You will not be on camera. It's going to be the kind of Zoom meeting where you just see me and I don't see you. No one else can see you. No one else knows that you're there, but you're able to chat with me directly, which is awesome. Again, August 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. August 8th is a Thursday, and all you have to do is go to jermainefoley.com/SOS to reserve your spot. Now, bring your girlfriends, bring your mom, bring your sisters, bring your coworkers, because the more women we can get in control of their finances, the better our world will be. Because I believe when women have more money, when we have wealth, we do amazing, great things, not only for ourselves, not only for our families, but also for the world. So share this information, share this class, give them the website to register, jermainefoley.com/SOS. Okay, now let's get into our topic for today. Today, we're talking about how to financially flourish. Now, I'm using the word flourish very intentionally because I believe that flourishing is different from just surviving. So let's look at the general definition of what it means to flourish. Really, it means to go from good to great. You want to go from okay to thriving. You want to go from your finances being pretty much, okay to having more than enough money. Your bills are not just being paid and you can go on a vacation or two or buy some things here or there. You go from that to having more than enough money and building wealth on autopilot. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Now, when you look at the Oxford definition of what it means to flourish, here's what they have to say. And I love this definition. And so it's kind of going to take me into the first step to flourishing. So I'm going to start there. So the Oxford definition is to grow or develop in a healthy or vigorous way, especially as the result of a particularly favorable environment. And they give this example: wild plants flourish on the banks of the lake. Okay, so I'm going to read this again, and I really want you to pay attention to the second half of the definition. So it's to grow or to develop in a healthy or vigorous way. Pay attention to this next part, especially as the result of a particularly favorable environment. So in order to flourish, you have to have a favorable environment. So point number one, step number one to flourishing financially is this: create a favorable mental environment that will allow you to flourish financially. So let's look at the example that the Oxford Dictionary gave us. So it talks about the wildflower, right? And how it flourishes on the banks of the lake. If you think about the soil on the banks of a lake, it's typically very lush, very healthy, and is conducive to allowing plants to not just grow, but to flourish. Now imagine planting those same wildflowers in a desert soil. Do you think they would flourish even if you did all the right things? Like giving it enough sunlight, giving it enough water, pulling up the weeds, making sure that you add fertilizer to the ground. Do you think that even with all that action, that if you plant wildflowers in a desert soil, that it would flourish, that they will flourish? Probably not. And that's not because you're not doing your part, but it's because the soil or the environment wasn't healthy enough for the flowers to flourish. This same concept can be applied to your finances. You can do all the things. You can try all of the strategies. But if you're doing those things without a favorable mental environment, then they will not work permanently. Then you will not flourish. You may get some results in the short term, but typically when you haven't dealt with the mental aspects of your financial life, then all the action that you take literally don't work. And that's why so many people are always saying, I tried budgeting, I tried Dave Ramsey, I tried all these apps, and it just doesn't work for me. I've read countless books, I've listened to podcasts, I've done all the things, but I'm still here, and they want to give up. But the truth is, they're doing all the things, but they haven't addressed the most important thing, which is their mental environment when it comes to money. So here is how you create a favorable mental environment that will allow you to flourish financially. You have to get your mind right. You have to get your mind right. Think of your mind as the soil where you will plant all the seeds and tend to them over time. Is it healthy or is it unhealthy? You'll know by your beliefs. And your beliefs are simply a collection of thoughts that you decided are true. So you've got a bunch of thoughts in your brain and you believe them. You decided that they were true. They're not facts, but you believe them. And so that is what creates your mindset. And you will know if you have a healthy environment, a healthy mental environment by your belief system. Your belief system about yourself, about money, and about your ability to build wealth. What do you believe about you? What do you believe about money? What do you believe about your ability to build wealth? If you don't address those core root causes, if you don't address those three issues, you will not get very far, unfortunately. Okay? So when you go around thinking, I have no self-control, I have no discipline, I don't know anything about money, I'm bad with money, I don't know where to start, I can't save, I can't stick to a budget, or I can't stick to a plan, I'm a spender, or you only live once, you can't take it with you, money is meant to be spent. If you walk around thinking those things about yourself and about money and about your abilities to build wealth, then that means that you have an unhealthy environment that is not conducive to flourishing financially. Okay? And the only way that you're going to turn that environment into a healthy environment is to really look at those beliefs, know what they are, figure out what they are. A lot of us don't know because they're unconscious. We just believe them and we don't even know we believe them. And you have to get to the root cause of what's going on, and that's your belief system. And so a great exercise for you all is just to get a piece of paper and ask a question like, what do I think about myself when it comes to money? What do I think about money in general? What is it for? Why do I want it? What about my abilities? And just write, let yourself journal, and you will discover what your beliefs are, what your unconscious beliefs are. If you allow yourself to write and not stop for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, you will discover your true core beliefs. And then you won't have to wonder why all the things you've been trying aren't working, because the paper will show you why they aren't working. It's because you do not have a favorable mental environment that will allow you to flourish financially. You may have an environment that will allow you to be okay. You may have an environment that will allow you to be good, but not great. Okay? So if you have a negative belief system, starting with the journaling is great. And then once you figure out what those beliefs are, once you see them on paper, start to question them. Start to find evidence of how the opposite is actually true. This is the work I do with my clients inside of the Wealthy Woman's Academy. Having a coach is a great way to do this as well. Journaling and getting it out on paper is fine, but sometimes you don't even know what to do with them because they're beliefs. You're like, yeah, I do believe this, but a coach can help you to, like myself, can help you to question them, to help you to see that they're really just thoughts that you chose to believe. They're not facts. They're actually opinions that you just decided to take on as truth. And now you're just living out those truths. Because when we have beliefs, our brains want to prove them true. When we think something, our brain wants to create evidence of why it's true. Now, the Bible and so many other thought leaders have told us how powerful our thoughts are. Right. Henry Ford says, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. The Bible says, as a person thinketh, so is he or she. Now, I want you to know that it's not that your thoughts are just so powerful or magical. It's not the fact that a sentence is so powerful. It's the fact that you believe it that makes it powerful. Our beliefs are what's so powerful. It's not that, one little thought's not going to hurt you, but when you think that thought over and over and over again, and then you start to believe it, and then you start to identify with it, that is when there's a problem. Because when you believe something, when you think a thought and then you believe it, what happens is you create an emotion inside of your body. And that emotion actually drives you to take action, or to live out certain behaviors, or to not take action, or to stop doing certain behaviors. And the behaviors that you take, the action steps that you take over and over and over again actually create your life. So it's not like, thoughts are magical, especially if you don't believe them. If you have a thought and you don't believe it, it has no power over you. But once you actually take it on as truth, when you start to truly believe that you're bad with money, then your brain is on a mission to prove how you're bad with money. If you truly believe that you're a spender, your brain is going to be like, yeah, this is who I am. So you need to live that out. When you truly believe that you only live once, so I might as well just go ahead and live it up and spend, and I'll think about money later, then you're going to do that. That's the life you're going to create for yourself. Okay. And so it's not just the thought, it's the belief. And then you have that emotion in your body and you take those actions, and then you create your life. You create your financial life. You create your bottom line, your net worth. You create how much money you have saved. You create how much income you have. You create how much debt you have or don't have. You create how much you invest or don't invest. All of that stems from your beliefs about you as a person handling money, your beliefs about money in general, and then your beliefs about your capabilities when it comes to building wealth. Let me give you 2 examples so that you can see this in action. So the first example is going to be around a circumstance of you wanting to get your finance together. Maybe you have a goal to save a certain amount of money, or you have a goal to have a certain amount of net worth. And your thought is, or should I say your belief is, that you just don't know where to start. And so when you think that, the emotion that is created in your body is an emotion of confusion. You feel confused. Okay. And when you're confused, how do you act? How do you show up? What behaviors do you engage in? Well, one thing you could do is like, okay, I'm confused, so let me do a bunch of research. Let me read up on some things. Let me read some books. Let me listen to some podcasts. Let me just research. And when you do that, you get even more confused. And then because you're even more confused, you do nothing. And so the result that you create is that you prevent yourself from getting started. All because you told yourself that you don't know where to start. And that created an emotion of confusion. Now, we're going to leave the circumstances the same. You want to get your finances in order. Maybe you have a goal, the same exact goal. And now the thought is, I can figure this out. I can figure this out. And even as I say that, I feel an emotion in my body of confidence. I feel very confident. And then so from that feeling of confidence, I still take the same action. I research options. I read some books. I listen to some podcasts. And then once I do enough research that I feel like, okay, I have enough information, I'm not going to over-research. I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick a strategy. And from that, I take action on that one strategy. And what is the result that I create? I allow myself to figure it out, all because I believed that I could figure it out. And that made me feel confident, and it made me take the same actions as the first example. But instead of getting even more confused, I picked something and I took action on that something. And this is all stemming from the belief of I can figure this out. I truly have a belief about myself that I can figure anything out. And that is such a powerful belief. And notice how much more powerful that one is versus I don't know where to start. That's such a disempowering thought or belief system. Like you just don't know. And so it will live out. It will perpetuate itself. Your brain will look for evidence of you not knowing. Or if you have the belief of I can figure anything out, your brain will look for evidence. Oh, we figure anything out, so we're going to figure this out too. Your brain is not biased. It is just on assignment to make whatever you believe true, right? It doesn't care if you're believing good things that are going to serve you. And it also doesn't care if you're believing negative things that are not going to serve you. Your brain's job is just to deliver what you believe. You believe this, you believe you can't figure it out, you believe that you don't know where to start, okay, your wish is my command. You believe that you can figure it out, okay, your wish is my command. That is what it is. It's about your beliefs, okay? Now, I hope that is clear. So the first thing you must do in order to flourish financially is create a favorable mental environment that will allow you to flourish financially. And we do that by figuring out what we believe about ourselves, about money, and our ability to build wealth, figuring out what those beliefs are, questioning them, and then going about the business of changing them. And the best way I know how to do this is to get help from a skilled coach. I am a money coach, so I specialize in this. If you want help, please join me for the masterclass, the Stop Overspending Masterclass. Again, that's going to be Thursday, August 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go to the show notes to register or just go to jermainefoley.com/SOS and remember to bring a friend or two. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Number 2. So the second thing you can do to flourish financially is to stop overspending. Now, the definition of overspending means to spend more than you want or planned to spend. Here's what I want you to know. Overspending actually robs you of the ability to flourish financially. And one of the things that I really try to help women in my coaching programs do is to learn how to get just as much pleasure from building wealth than they do from spending. So just as much pleasure from saving, just as much pleasure from paying off their debt, just as much pleasure from investing than they do spending. Okay? And in order to do this, it's really important to understand the difference between false pleasure and well-being. Because what happens is when we overspend, when we're going on spending sprees and like impulse spending and all that stuff, what's happening is we're giving ourselves, our brains, a quick hit of dopamine, which is false pleasure. False pleasure is pleasure that feels good in the moment. So you get that hit of dopamine, but then guess what happens? There's a consequence waiting for you on the back end. So when you overspend, you feel good temporarily, but then there's this crash, right? Where you feel guilty, you feel stressed, you feel anxious, you don't have as much money, you're not meeting your financial goals. It's like it is a very short-lived pleasure. That's why it's called false pleasure. Versus well-being. Well-being is when you are living out your best life, and that is giving you a steady stream of dopamine. So when you go out and impulse shop, you get a strong hit of dopamine. It's kind of like, if you were to eat some chocolate cake, you get a strong hit of dopamine, right? Versus if you're just eating normal foods, like healthy foods, you get dopamine, but it's not a huge hit of dopamine. It's just a steady stream of dopamine because it does feel good to eat. But when you eat highly concentrated, sugary, salty foods, it's like it gives you a strong hit of dopamine. The same thing happens when you spend, especially impulsively. It gives you that hit of dopamine right off the back versus a steady stream. So how do you get a steady stream of dopamine so that you're not really as concerned with the big hits? You do that by setting and accomplishing goals, by creating, by contributing, by being of service, by connecting with others, and by managing your mind. If you are on a mission to make contributions to the world, to help others, to serve others, if you have big goals, even small goals that you're working towards, and you allow yourself to make progress towards those goals and you let yourself celebrate those accomplishments, that is a steady stream of dopamine. If you're creating solutions to problems, if you're out contributing to the world, that is a steady stream of dopamine. And when you're not getting that from your life, right? If you are living a life where it's kind of like you're stagnant and you're just going through the motions and you're not evolving and growing like human beings are designed to be, sometimes we are trying to solve for that by getting dopamine in other places like overeating, overspending, overdrinking, over indulging in social media and things like that. Like we're getting our dopamine from places outside of us versus from inside of us. And so the way that you can really start to enjoy saving and paying off your debt and building wealth more than spending is to set some goals. Change your thoughts about spending. Like I think it's more fun to save than to spend. And I did not used to think that way forever. But now I enjoy watching my high yield savings account increase versus watching my spending account decrease, right? And so you can do that too. But you have to know the difference between false pleasure, that pleasure that feels so good in the moment when you buy that thing online or in person, versus like, okay, what can I be doing in my life? What's missing from my life where I'm needing to go out and get a hit of dopamine through shopping? Like what's going on in my life? Is there something that I am ignoring? Is there something that do I have a passion project that I've been thinking about doing, but I just never even give it the time of day, right? It's like we're buffering. Buffering means to do something to give you a hit of dopamine instead of feeling your feelings. So let's just use this as an example. Let's say you have a goal to start a business of some sort. Maybe you have a talent and you want to start your own bakery. I'm just going to use that as an example. And you're feeling fear and doubt and you're letting that kind of control you. There's this underlying disappointment that you probably have. There's probably like this underlying negative emotion because you're not doing it. And of course, our brains do not like to feel negative emotion. And so it's like, okay, let's go shop so that we don't feel this disappointment anymore. When the truth is, shopping is just going to temporarily give you a hit of dopamine and make you forget about the disappointment, but the disappointment is still there after the fact because the true reason why you're disappointed is because you're not going after your dreams. This is just an example. This could be for relationships. Maybe you're not doing the things you want to do to improve your relationship. Maybe you're in a marriage and you feel like it's not what you wanted it to be. So instead of working on the marriage, we shop, right? And so it's like once we shop and we get the high of the buy and that goes away, we're right back with, okay, I still have this relationship issue that I'm not dealing with. And so whenever we avoid dealing with the deeper things in our lives, the things that really matter, the ones that are preventing us from having connection, the ones that are preventing us from setting and achieving goals, the ones that are preventing us from creating and contributing to the world, that's when we turn to outside things like shopping in order to cope. Okay? And so I want to do more podcasts on this because I think this is the deeper reason why a lot of us are not building wealth, because we are using our money to alter our emotional state. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're not creating natural streams of dopamine in our lives through contribution, through goal setting, through creating, through showing up and being of service to the world. And so this is the work that we do inside of the Wealthy Woman's Academy. This is the kind of work that literally will change everything for you. This is the kind of work that will allow you to flourish. Okay. And so being able to get just as much pleasure from building wealth than from spending will be a game changer, and it will totally allow you to flourish financially. Okay. The third and final step to flourishing financially is to stop under earning. And with this, we can really piggyback off of what we just talked about, because we can funnel our need for contribution, connection, and service to helping others and actually charging for our help. Because the more value that you give to the world, to others, the more money you make. It's a natural law. It's the law of sowing and reaping. When you sow seeds of helping others, serving others, and giving value to others, then you reap in the form of money, but only if you're at the point where you're able to receive money for your service and your contribution. Okay. And that's a whole nother podcast, because some of us, we are good at serving and helping, but we're not good at receiving money in return. And that's a whole nother podcast. But here's what I really want you to walk away with for step number 3 for this podcast in order to help you to flourish financially. You have to believe in your ability to make a contribution to the world on an even greater level than you are making now. And it's okay if you don't, but just to believe that I could be making a bigger contribution and making a lot more money, that's just a possibility. You don't have to act on that possibility, but just to start believing it is game changing. Okay. I love this concept and I'm going to share it with you. I believe that all of us are born with a pie. Think of like an apple pie, and that pie can symbolize money, and you can make that pie as big as you want it to be. I think so many of us grew up thinking that there was one pie in the world and we all are just fighting for a slither of it. And that is a very scarce way to think about money. Money is plentiful, it's everywhere, it's abundant, it's never ending. And when we think of it in a way that is very limiting like that, then we shrink and we just take whatever we can get. But if you think of, oh no, it's not just one pie. Actually, every human being on earth gets their own pie and they get to make it as big as they want. And the way you make your pie bigger is by serving the world and helping others and contributing. That's how you make it. So you think about your pie in comparison to Oprah's pie, right? Oprah has figured out a way to serve so many people, to help so many people with her platform. So it makes sense that her pie is humongous. Not only is her pie humongous, she's made multiple humongous pies, and you can too. We all as human beings have something to give. It's all different. We all have gifts and talents. And for you, it might be to start a bakery. For me, it's money coaching. For Oprah, it's a talk show that changed so many women's lives. We all have a part to play in the world. And when we play small, according to Nelson Mandela, when we play small, we serve no one. And so if you just open yourself up to the possibility that you can contribute more. That will in turn help you to stop under-earning and to stop overspending, because now you are giving yourself that steady stream of dopamine that you really want. And so you will no longer need those big hits from all the impulse spending and things like that. So if you have a dream, if you have a desire that you've been sleeping on, if you know that you can be playing at a bigger level and contributing more to the world, this is your wake-up call to start listening to yourself, to start doing it. Earl Nightingale said this: your income is in direct proportion to the amount of service you are willing to give the world. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's what he meant. That your income is in direct proportion to your level of service and contribution to the world. And I'm going to add this part: your willingness to receive compensation for it. I hope this podcast was helpful, and don't forget to register for the Stop Overspending Masterclass. It is happening on August 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you all there. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, before you go, if you're ready to create a life with more money and more freedom, then you're invited to join the Wealthy Woman's Academy, my signature coaching program where you'll learn how to take control of your money and build wealth without sacrificing your lifestyle. To get started, head on over to jermainefoley.com/WWA. That's Jermaine with a G. See you over there. Bye-bye.